Nalim Ima appeared like a mystical city rising out of low morning clouds. They stood on the deck of the ship with all the other passengers, a murmur of awe passing among them. Some of the buildings must have been 20 stories tall, and more were under construction, marked by scaffolds. Steep hills rose behind the buildings, sheer rock faces with snow-dusted tops. Any other city would have been dwarfed by those hills, but Nalim Ima held its own. Grau whistled. I didn't realize Nalim Ima was so big. It must be worse than Atlantis, with that many people living on top of each other. Having second thoughts? She asked. I didn't say that, but you know I don't like big cities. Their ship had left from Atlantis, a city Velsa had always dreamed of seeing. Grau had nothing but complaints about the narrow, dirty streets, the rumored prevalence of pickpockets, and the wealthy merchants who flaunted their shape-shifted beauty while dealing in some of the world's darkest, most addictive magic. She had not been there long enough to form much of an opinion. The houses along the river were charming, with arched balconies and tiled roofs, and she had never seen such an array of shops, but it was dirty, and every corner seemed to have a beggar, many of them children. Nalim Ima was something entirely different, like no place she had ever seen, even in a book. She wondered how anyone even reached the top of such tall buildings. Some of them looked like they were made of liquid silver that gleamed as the rising sun burned the clouds away. Before long, the ship was docking. An older man stopped to bow to Grau. "Thank you, Mr. Thanau," he said. "I think I might have died if you weren't aboard." I'm sure that isn't true. The sea voyage had been fairly boring, so Grau spent a lot of time helping people who were seasick. His skill at elemental sorcery provided some small ease, as he showed people how to sense the flow of the waves. "May you and your sweet little doll wife have good fortune at the Palace of Blessed Wings," the man said. "I don't think anyone on this ship ever learned my name," Velsa said as he moved on. Grau took her hand. "You give a girl freedom and suddenly she wants a name and everything? What next? Respect?" He was trying to make her laugh, but she couldn't hide genuine disappointment. "I guess I'm showing my ignorance. All of us concubines thought that wives were very respected." "I'm sure part of it is that you're a Fenarlum," Grau said. "Flesh-born Fenarlum are so rare that even when people know you're my wife, they have a hard time separating your appearance from reality." "Reality," she said with a faint scoff. "History is riddled with lies," he said, "and this one doesn't hurt anyone. But you do look so little and feminine." "I look like a concubine. How surprising." "Should I get you a new, tough-looking face?" "No." But she fretted. "Do you think it's all right?" "Flesh-born Fenarlum are rare enough that surely they must have to turn to the makers of concubines. No one could stay in business only making Fenarlum bodies for flesh-born people." It was still better to be called a sweet little doll wife than to have men openly leering at her and congratulating Grau on his purchase. But how would she react to it if she really had been born of flesh? If she had been turned into a Fenarlum as a little girl, would she have simply gotten used to being treated differently from other girls? Or would she feel entitled to be more authoritative, like Grau's sister? These were the questions no one could answer for her. She had no guidebook for how a flesh-born Fenarlum girl would feel. She could only imagine this fictional clothing merchant's daughter, Velsa Bjarnen, would be called doll every day, and much worse. Many customers would assume she was a well-constructed slave. Her telepathic powers would always be on the alert for danger. A flesh-born Fenarlum girl would have to be tough or be eaten alive. When they were allowed to disembark, as they walked down the gangway, up ahead it looked like some authorities were separating the men and women and sending them off to separate doorways. "Please have your identity papers in hand," a man was shouting. Grau pulled their papers out of the inner pocket of his coat. "What's going on?"